In today's edition of Global Glimpse, we dive into one of the least discussed but most consequential outcomes of the recent government shutdown. The quiet but growing crisis of institutional trust in the United States, a crisis that didn't end when agencies reopened and federal workers returned to their desks. With the shutdown now officially over, the machinery of government is humming again, parks reopening, benefits processing, federal offices back online, but beneath the surface lies a problem far deeper than a budget standoff: the public. Faith in the federal government's ability to function reliably has eroded to one of the lowest points in modern history. The shutdown lasted long enough to become more than a political fight. It became a stress test for America's democratic infrastructure, exposing how fragile coordination between the public, Congress, and the executive branch has become. While the funding deal restored operational normalcy, it did not resolve the ideological conflicts that triggered the crisis, particularly the battle over federal healthcare subsidies, which remain a central point of tension shaping negotiations, elections, and public discourse. At the heart of the issue is a widening disconnect between what citizens expect government to do and what government is capable of, delivering under conditions of extreme polarization. During the shutdown, millions of Americans witnessed delayed benefits, stalled medical claims, food assistance interruptions, and an air travel system straining under unpaid labor, reminders that government is not a distant abstraction but a daily presence in their lives. When these functions collapse, even temporarily, they leave a psychological mark on the electorate, reinforcing the perception that institutions are either incompetent or held hostage by political agendas. Even as buildings reopen, confidence does not automatically return. Compounding the trust deficit is the unresolved debate over healthcare subsidies, a funding issue that became one of the key pressure points in negotiations. These subsidies, which support millions of low- and middle-income Americans, were caught in the crossfire not because the policy is new or operationally complex, but because it has become a symbolic battleground for competing visions of federal responsibility. The shutdown intensified public attention on these subsidies, not as an abstract budget line, but as a matter of stability. Would people lose coverage, face higher premiums, or be forced to navigate bureaucratic uncertainty while the political elite argued over ideological purity? Although the shutdown ended without slashing these subsidies, the fact that they came close to being collateral damage has left many Americans uneasy about whether essential programs can survive partisan brinkmanship. For families who rely on consistent coverage, the message was clear. Governance is unpredictable, and the social safety net is vulnerable. This uncertainty translates into distrust, not only in specific policymakers, but in the system itself, fueling long-term disillusionment with federal competence. Institutional trust is also influenced by how government actors behave during crises. Throughout the shutdown, both parties held news conferences, exchanged public accusations, and framed the debate as a moral battle. But for everyday Americans, these performances reinforced a sense that Washington is trapped in permanent conflict, incapable of long-term planning or strategic cooperation. Public perception was shaped not by arcane legislative details, but by the visible reality of dysfunction. 43 days of frozen services, furloughed workers, shuttered parks, and delayed care. Even after the signing of the funding bill, many federal employees, having faced weeks of financial uncertainty, expressed renewed doubts about whether their work is respected or politically protected. Morale within agencies, already strained by years of staffing shortages and growing demands, declined further. When the people who operate government lose faith in its stability, the public inevitably follows. The long-term effects of this distrust extend far beyond the shutdown. Surveys already show that confidence in nearly every major federal institution, Congress, the presidency, the courts, regulatory agencies, is weakening. What makes this moment uniquely fragile is the convergence of political polarization, economic anxiety, and ideological fragmentation. Many Americans now believe that government only functions during calm conditions and collapses under stress. That perception is dangerous because it shapes voting behavior, civic participation, and even social cohesion. When citizens doubt that institutions can solve problems, they either disengage entirely or gravitate toward extreme solutions that promise immediate sweeping change. The unresolved policy disputes, especially around healthcare subsidies, become symbols of a deeper belief that the government cannot agree on even the most basic responsibilities. This mindset is not just a political challenge, it is a governance challenge. Democracies rely not only on laws and elections, but on a shared belief that the system, though imperfect, is capable of delivering stability and fairness. When that belief fades, the system weakens from within. As agencies reopen and federal workers return, policymakers are eager to frame the shutdown as an anomaly, a one-off crisis that has now been resolved. For millions of Americans, the lesson was different. The shutdown was not an outlier, but a symptom of a system that lurches from crisis to crisis without addressing underlying structural issues. Until Congress and the executive branch develop a more stable, less confrontational model of budgeting and policy negotiation, trust will continue to erode. And as trust declines, shutdowns, or shutdown-like disruptions, may become a recurring feature of American political life. As we close today's deep dive on Global Glimpse, the message is clear. The shutdown may be over. But the deeper crisis, a crisis of institutional trust, remains unresolved. What ended on paper did not end in the public's mind. Challenge now is not merely reopening government buildings, but rebuilding confidence in a system strained by division, mistrust, and unresolved policy battles. Thank you for watching Global Glimpse, where we break down the political forces shaping America's future, one decision, one dispute, and one turning point at a time.